Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Brain Cancer Diaries. This one's a special episode. I'm meeting one of the few other brain cancer patients in the city of Knoxville, a woman named Catherine. She's going to be picking me up. We're going to be going to lunch.
I appreciate it if you did.
Here we are. This is Catherine.
Hi.
Like I said, one of the few other brain cancer people in Knoxville. Neither one of us actually get our care in Knoxville. I just get my infusion, my chemo infusion here, just for convenience sake. But all my main consultations are actually done in North Carolina. And you are, where do you get your care?
I get mine at Mass General in Boston, and that's Harvard's hospital, so it's a big research center. And Rudy, I know that you have so many risks in your life, but you're gonna have to put on your seatbelt.
Yes, I am.
Or that will ding at us.
So we got ourselves a green Subaru Outback. This is Catherine. Well, it's a great car for if you have cancer because safe.
That's right.
Most people don't realize this, but most cancer patients have issues with driving. Isn't that right?
Yes,
and
I am very excited. I've been banned from driving twice, but currently I am not banned from driving, so it's just like super exciting to have my independence back and able to be driving for
I am banned from driving because I have bad balance and I get easily disoriented. Even though I'm getting better, I still have a lot of issues I got to overcome. Here we are eating Poké. Catherine got a bowl. I got the burrito, which is basically just a Poké bowl in seaweed wrap. It's so delicious. It's so good. Anyway, so we're just talking about cancer stuff. When did you first get diagnosed and all that?
I was diagnosed 2 years ago, on November 1st. Had a grand mal seizure at work. Was unconscious for a while. Up in the hospital, they gave me a CT. They saw something on the CT. Then they gave me an MRI, and they were like you have brain cancer. And I had surgery on election day, and so it kind of felt like the world was ending in a lot of different ways. But fortunately, it didn't end. And here I am now.
There's still time.
There's still time. That's right. There's still time for the world to end.
I mean, they are cutting funding for cancer research. Is one of the things on the agenda.
Yeah, well, who needs that anyhow?
Well, you got to pay for those tax cuts for the wealthy. So
that's right. Yeah, I'm a grade 2 astrocytoma. It's in my right frontal lobe. Basically what happened is I was able to achieve 100% gross total resection because mine was in a really good area in October, so almost 2 years to the date of my resection, that something was back on my MRI. But that was still there in January, hadn't gotten any larger, so they still haven't taken any action.
Anyone says that they're fully over cancer, especially at brain cancer, is lying because you never really get rid of it.
Right.
And there's a huge psychological battle. I mean, like you thought, hey, they're able to remove it, so I'm good to go. Like, no, it's not just as simple as removing a tumor. It's in your DNA.
Right.
It can come back at any time.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is already there, right? Because with astrocytic cells, you can't get them all out. So there's these sticky star-shaped cells that are all over your brain, and so you're not ever cancer-free. I think that's been one of the challenges for me, is that initially everyone's like, you're gonna beat this. But it's a terminal cancer. It just hopefully will take a really, really long time to kill me. And that's just the reality of this situation unless something miraculous happens in the next few years and they develop a new treatment. So I've always hated the military metaphors. Kudos to you if they work for you, that's great. It puts the onus on the patient as if only you try hard enough, your cancer will go away. So basically, like, if it doesn't, then somehow you've screwed it up. That's not an agency that any cancer patient has, right? And so whenever you're battling it, and like, if you just keep the right attitude, somehow it's gonna I just hate that implication. I think it's really wrong-headed to put that kind of responsibility on the person that has no control over cellular random division going on in their brain. You have control over the way you deal with it. You have control over the way that you treat your family during stressful times. You have, some control if you have the education and the money and the wherewithal about where you go to get your treatment, but that's about all you have control over. And that is an important thing. Go to a brain center, someplace that someone operates on brain tumors day in and day out if you're going to go, if you have control over where you get to have your surgery. You want someone that performs hundreds of these surgeries, not like 1 or 2 every year, you know, that you want them to be doing it all the time.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. Second opinions and going to experts in the field of whatever your illness is well worth it.
Well, what's been the most helpful for you as you've been dealing with all the awfulness?
Honestly, it's been things like this, is meeting other cancer patients, survivors, endurers, whatever you want to call them, and just talking about getting sort of like the real deal on what it's like to live it, because doctors, they either like to sugarcoat it or be like, you're gonna die.
Yeah, and you're like, where's this somewhere in between?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Well, it's also a practice to be a brain cancer patient, right? Because every day you're practicing, at least for me, you know, Zen mindfulness and trying to like not be too attached to a particular outcome or what comes next, to not be too furious whenever things happen, you know, to just try and go with the flow a little bit because you kind of got to. Or
that kind of leads me to this, because I know it's like there's always a stigma just in life about seeing a therapist. And I've always sort of battled with depression, but I've always sort of dealt with it through exercise and throwing myself into my work and whatever. But cancer's a little too heavy.
I mean, anyone would have functional depression that has cancer. I think it's like just a strong risk. And I mean, for me, going to a therapist has been so helpful.
Not to belittle, but I gotta say this. This is really good.
I was diagnosed when my son was a little bit over 1, so he's always sort of lived with that in his life. And you know, I'm not in treatment right now, so he doesn't have to think about it in that sense. But we talk to him a lot about imaging, and he knows where my scar is on my head here, my big one, and he touches it sometimes and asks me about it. And you have to be on top of it with kids, because if you're not careful, they can get some bad misinformation. They can think that cancer is contagious, or they can think that somehow they've done something that's caused it. So it's always best just to be honest with them and straightforward from the beginning, so that they are aware that you know, you're taking as good care of yourself as you can, and that your doctors are, and that there's nothing that they did to cause it, and that it's, you know, cellular division that's uncontrolled. Insert age appropriate explanation here. and that you'll be honest with them.
And how critical has it been having a supportive partner, spouse in it? I mean, how has your husband dealt with it?
Oh my God, so critical, so critical. From just being a full-time caregiver for a period of time for our son while I was recovering, to being, you know, my emotional champion, making sure that I ask all the questions I need to at the doctor. He's been absolutely critical. The one thing I will say is that, and I don't think he'd mind me saying this, is that it's really, really important for caregivers to take care of themselves too, and to make sure that they also have a very good counselor, so that they don't do things like store up a lot of anger and then lash out at people they love. And I would say
compassion fatigue. I mean,
compassion fatigue, exactly. It exists for a reason. And my husband's been an absolute champ, and he has also been able to find a really awesome therapist that I know has been super helpful for him. I mean, what I always say is that I try and do one nice thing for myself a day. And I ask my husband for him to do one nice thing for himself a day. And sometimes, as you know, when you're undergoing treatment or when you're recovering, that might just be like meditating for 2 minutes. But even if it's just one nice thing, just like for a couple of minutes, especially those of you that have children and don't have any extra time in the day, I mean, that to me was really, really helpful.
So, we're finishing up lunch here. It's just important to note that we did go out to lunch here with Catherine. This is only like my second outing with like a sort of friend, acquaintance, sort of going out in public and eating just in the last couple of weeks. So pretty big step here. I'm very excited about this. I'm happy with my progress, but it's still slow. It's a long way to go. I pretty much have to go home because I am beat down right now.